Hello, welcome to the show. We're going to be talking about how do you overcome sort of that BS in business? You know, when you don't feel that people are really quite telling you the truth, maybe, or maybe you sign up for something and you're not getting what you promised. So last time in the last week's show, which you can watch on replay, it's still there for you. It was all about BS detection, and this week we're all about BS solutions. So come and join me and Mahmood's over there. I think that
Hi,
way.
folks.
There he is. Yeah.
Joe's that way.
We'd love to hear from you. So stick all your comments and thoughts, chat to us in the comments, and we'll chat back. But we've got some good tips for you today, just after this music, I think. We're back. We were rocking it out then, and I never know when Mahmood is going to play the stop the music button, and I'm still going for it in the background.
Gets the old blood circulating, if nothing else.
So, BS solutions. Where are we going to start, Mahmood?
That's a great question there. I think last week, as you said, Joe, was about spotting it, those signals, those signs. We're talking about nonsense, snake oil, even though it has got a historical derivative. And it's more about the solutions. How do you stop yourself getting sucked in, distinguishing between something that's actually going to be useful for you in your business and something that's not here? I think it probably starts with yourself, actually, before you even embark in connecting with those service suppliers. You've got to be really confident and know yourself. You've got to have some good self-awareness about where your business wants to be. And just as much that you don't go shopping when you're hungry, you've got some idea what you need to purchase. I think you've got to do that. So start with yourself, I would say, is the first step.
Yeah. And what we're talking about here is sort of the everyday stuff. We're not talking about fraud or crooksters or anything like that. We're just talking about sorting your way through the stuff that's really useful for you. And it's going to make a big difference, and the stuff that isn't. So that sort of level, rather than the criminal activity, because that's, some of that is really well orchestrated and organised.
Yeah.
But that's a conversation for another day. And this is really important that when we've only got 168 hours each every week, and usually we've got some finite financial resources in businesses as well. So it's important we spend our time, our money, and our energy on doing the right things that are going to make a difference. And what I see, and I think we've talked about it, haven't we, Mahmood? I think you see this too. Is sometimes we sort of abdicate. We invest in a solution. It could be a marketing company, or it could be someone to go and do sales for us, or whatever anything that it might be, and we sort of think, I can abdicate responsibility for that now. Those experts have got that in hand, and then we spend money and all of that, and then a little while down the line, we realise it's not actually working for us, and there are reasons for that and things we can do about it. Do you experience that as well? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I'll probably put it in a way. If you can certainly delegate, and I think you need to delegate if you want to grow your business, take it forward. But this is not about abrogation. This is not about walking away from there. I suppose typical areas where people might do that are going to be areas that are outside their sphere of influence and knowledge. Probably areas that they know needs to be done, but they have no direct experience. So if I go from the technical, it could be something that's in the world of technology, computers. It could be in the world of finance. It could be, like plumbing your own house, electrics there. Those are probably, for most of us, aren't skill sets that are necessarily there at hand. So I've seen it many times where people say, I know I need this, I'll just leave it to the experts. Before they know it, through a combination of mismanagement, through a combination of that deliverer not getting the right brief. So it's not necessarily down to them, it's because we're not managing that process. Yeah. You end up with a whole heap of mess there as well, because all you've done, you've walked away. And I can understand it's that psychological thing, isn't it? When you've got lots of noise going on, when you're very busy in your business, growing and moving it forward here, it's somebody says, oh, I can take this off your shoulders. You don't have to invest that time at the beginning, understanding what you want, and before you know it, a solution becomes a nightmare. So I think there's also a joint responsibility there between the person buying in that service or accessing that service and also the deliverer.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, the reasons for doing that are as well, you've said it's about time and expertise. I also think it's about, I'd add to that it's stuff that people perhaps know how to do, know they should be doing, but don't want to do it.
Yeah.
It's not their thing. So, so I talk to, and I know you do too, a lot of consultants, for instance, who are great at consulting and they love doing all of that, but they don't like doing the marketing piece, or they don't like doing the business development piece, or they don't like doing the books. And it's not about doing, saying you have to do those yourself. Absolutely not. As Mahmood says, the delegation is key because that will enable you to scale and spend time on other things. But the key here is for you to really think through a couple of things. The first thing is, what do you want and need and why? And you've got to be really clear about that. And what is the difference you're looking to make in your business by accessing this solution? Of course, make sure you get the right person or people or company, and that they understand you and it's serving you and it's going to deliver that. But I think we also need to educate ourselves
100%.
And have enough knowledge of what it is we're delegating to know whether or not we're getting the right things, whether or not the right things are being provided to us, and whether or not it's taking us in the right direction.
Yeah, I think you're right there, Joe. And I think it's there's two or three things that come from that. The phrase that I would use, or the word that I would use, is awareness. Have an awareness of the area that you're delegating somebody to. And I think you've got to recognize your own shortcomings, that you may not be an expert marketing person. And marketing is a very complex subject. These are disciplines that people spend many years of their life, studying, getting experience there as well. So don't try and simplify it, something like finance, technology, marketing, innovation, design. Those are things that people spend many years honing their craft here, but have an awareness there. And I would say, added to that, it's the monitoring, isn't it? It's the monitoring and the managing of it, about saying, if you are going to delegate a task and you either employ somebody to delegate that task, or you get a freelancer or a consultant coming in, have some idea what your expectations are, have an awareness of that landscape, but have a system also that says, once a month, once every couple of weeks, whatever time frame is suitable, that you've got some report coming back and you're looking at it, and you just don't walk away from that. You still got to have some involvement, with what you're delegating.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are certain times where we just need to hand ourselves over and trust the experts. But before we do that, it's about spending time understanding what the process is going to be, understanding, doing due diligence on their credibility and how they're going to help us. If we're going in for surgery, for instance, physical surgery, we've got to trust the medical team that are around us. But we know that they are, well qualified. We'll have had conversations with them. We'll understand the process we're going to go through. We'll know what the impact is. We'll know what the risks are, and all of those things. And it's a similar thing when you're about to make a big business investment. It's not about, I've spent all that money, therefore I can just, I don't need to invest my time and thinking in the process. Absolutely not. It's about doing all of that understanding, and then assessing that as you go forward. And the world is fast changing, and other people have deep expertise that it would take us another lifetime to acquire. So we do need to use experts, but we need to be savvy in how we do that.
I think you're spot on there, Joe. And I think even in your space, my space, you've got to not be afraid of asking questions of somebody. So what I typically find in terms of what I would call, in certain services, certain service offerings here, there's a certain degree, I wouldn't quite call it arrogance here, is that because you're going to be accessing a specific skill set from somebody that seems way above your pay grade or your knowledge set, that you can't ask questions, you can't ask for. So don't be afraid to ask questions though. So if it was an electrician coming to my house, I'd want to see at least they're qualified, they can do this, and I might want to have an example of some work they've done already. If I'm going to access a financial expert, a technology expert, a creative design and innovation expert, I want to see some examples of work they've done already. I'd like to see, you know, thing, because I don't know if this, have you ever heard that phrase, fur coat with no knickers as such?
I have, yes.
Okay, so I know you're more sophisticated than I am, but a lot of us judge from the surface. Again, a lot of us, unfortunately, we make judgments on how things are presented to us. So it's like don't judge a book by its cover. You've got to look below the surface here, because I say if you judge something purely on a website, websites are really produce a very high quality standard these days. You can look at them and think, my gosh, that looks really impressive. By nature, there must be some substance behind the offer. Drill down, check out things like a company's house, how long has the company been registered for, check out what work they've done, check out how old the testimonials might be. So don't take things at face value, and don't be afraid of asking a question, because you're going to be investing a lot of trust and time and energy and money in that relationship that you're building up.
Yeah, absolutely. And if it's something that's brand new and to you, and maybe you haven't got a recommendation, or it's something specific, then I would suggest that you actually talk to 2 or 3 options and weigh them up between them. But Mahmood is so right in that things can look really glossy and really exciting and make big promises, and social media, the internet, are easy ways in for people doing those things. And sometimes they are well intentioned, and sometimes people really, the people offering those promises do mean to keep them. But the thing is, sometimes people don't know what they don't know, and they're not quite as good or capable as they think they are. And so it's not intentional quite often. But don't be somebody's learning project. You shouldn't have to be educating your provider unless that's an upfront agreement that you've both got together, that they're learning and they're using you as a bit of a guinea pig, and you both know that upfront and can help each other in the process. That's fine. So make sure that if somebody is an expert, they blooming well are an expert, and they're not just looking like they are and doing all the right things on social.
100%, and I think it always comes back to us now. I think people, generally speaking, they come with good intentions in the main there as well. But I think I still find that people find some conversations very difficult to have in business. So if you're in a business, you've got to, when I say grow up, you've got to realise there are some conversations you may be very wary of having, but certainly you've got to have some of those conversations. So whether it's from and I'm going to talk about this today, about chasing people for money, asking them, getting those contract terms, getting everything agreed at the beginning, you've got to make sure that if you're going to invest here, that you've got to be comfortable, because and I can understand the dynamics behind it, Joe. The world is very noisy. You're very pressured in your business environment. You want a quick solution here. And I would say, though, when I was thinking about this show, I think there's very little things in your business life that you have to make a purchasing decision today. So in other words, if you are looking for something, it's not a question you have to make that decision right now. You need to reflect, you need to check it, you need to validate it. Obviously, don't waste somebody's time. But when you're going to buy something, whether it's a course, a consultancy, a product, whatever that solution is, don't make a rash purchase. Look at it, go back, reflect, and go back. Can you think of anything that requires an instant decision?
I mean, an emergency purchase, like you've got to get a courier to get this from here to there, those sorts of things. Yeah. Because a customer's widget's broken and you need one is needed immediately. I think those sorts of things, yes. But then if you're couriering costs, if you are, let's have a go. If you are couriering, I'm determined. I'm going to say it. Stuff in general, you'd have those relationships in place where you know who to call and that they'll help you out. So sometimes there are, but like there are smidgen. Yeah, for sure. There is smidgen of the overall thing, and you can build trust over time as well. I work with Linda from Clever Pins. And Linda is a Pinterest expert, and Pinterest is a great tool for driving traffic to your website. I cannot get my head around Pinterest. I like looking at the pictures, if I'm planning to decorate this room or buy a new sofa or whatever it is. I like all of that, but I don't know how it works behind the scenes, and I can't get my head around it. So Linda's been doing my Pinterest for at least over a year. And with very little input from me. She asks me what she needs from me, and I do my best to give it to her. And Linda's the one who drives the updates and things like that, you know, make sure I'm informed. But I can see that she's doing what she needs to be doing, and I can see that it's working. And I love the fact that I can leave her to it. So over time, you know, you can build these relationships of trust where you know they're working.
And you've got evidence, I would imagine, Jo, as well, then, in terms of that traffic to your website and all the rest of it. So,
yeah,
you know, it's reinforcing that. And presumably you had an idea at the very beginning of what you wanted out of the Pinterest posting.
yes. And, you know, this is where Linda was great. She doesn't know I'm talking about her today. In fact, I didn't know I would be. It's just, you know, it's just sort of popped up. But, you know, Linda starts with, well, what are your goals? What do you want to achieve? And then builds a plan to achieve those goals. And this is something to be mindful of as well. Linda tries things and does things and is successful in things. She gets results for me because she changes what she does to support my business model and what I'm here to do. But there are other organisations and people who just want their customers to fit in with their process, right? And that's okay. If that's their business model, they're saying, this is how we do things. You'll need to fit in with that. That's okay if it works for you too. But what happens is that you don't really get the solution that you're looking for. So and be really careful of people who want to do things for you that are more comfortable for them, rather than being the right thing for you. People need to do things that are right for you. It's not just about keeping them, you know, in a happy, easy place to be. Does that make sense, Mahmood? I don't know if I've explained that very well.
I think I've seen there's 2 or 3 things that I'm drawing from that. Number one, that's a good example of, we're not necessarily talking about Linda, but if you are listening, Linda, you know, well done. But we're talking about, you had a good idea about what you wanted out of this. You got somebody that you thought fitted the bill. Over time, as they're demonstrating, you've got evidence of what you wanted that outcome to be, whether it's increased traffic, increased brand awareness. You're then thinking, she's doing a good job. I'm going to give her more to do. I'm going to give her more of a free hand. Understandably, it may have been that you might want to micromanage that a little bit more in the beginning until you've actually developed that relationship. Another thing, you're right. I meet lots of companies in lots of different spaces, from finance, technology, marketing, innovation, that actually says, this is how we do things because we've got the technology, the infrastructure, and we've got to squeeze you into that box. And if it's a bad fit, and that does sometimes happen, you know, good people out there aren't necessarily a good fit for your business there as well. You know, you may not suit their the way they do business, the way they communicate. So I think it comes back to what we were saying at the beginning. You've got to have a real confidence, and you know that confidence doesn't have to be a permanent feature. But what is it you want? What is it you're looking for? Even if you've got a basic idea, that will put you in a much stronger position when it comes to having those initial conversations with people. And don't get sucked in by the gloss.
Yeah, and also don't just feel like, well, I know I should be doing this, but I don't really want to and I haven't got the time. So, you know, at least if I just outsource it and leave it to run, I know something's getting done and I can say I'm doing it. And I see that a lot, mainly in the marketing arena, the social media marketing, where instead of, you know, people wanting to do their own LinkedIn updates, for instance, and they hire an agency to do it. And some agencies do it brilliantly and, you know, and are really good at it. Whereas other agencies will just make connections of dubious quality for you and then spam them as soon as they've connected, you know, and talk to them in a way that isn't personalised or doesn't represent your brand. So, you know, and your brand and your personal brand has taken your lifetime to build. It's taken you every single minute of every day up till right now to build that brand and that reputation, that trust in who you are. The same with your business. So if you just hand that over to people who don't understand and don't behave in the way that you need them to because you've abdicated that responsibility, you know, it's not going to. It's something you should protect, I think, at all costs, because what you've worked hard to deliver, somebody else can unpick really, really quickly just by being clumsy and process driven.
100%. And I think the bottom line is, folks, whoever you bring in, every single owner, every single founder is the front face of their organization. So even if it's somebody else who might have made a faux pas in the delivery and the execution, they're not going to go to that individual and say you've messed up Mahmood's business or Joe's business. It's you who's actually committed that issue. I think that also is patience. Right, it's really a virtue that a lot of business owners don't necessarily have. Things are not quickly turned out. There's very few businesses that I've met that have actually been successful and sustainable that are started from a position of ground zero. It's taking time for people to build up the trust. Takes time to get those clients coming on board. It takes time to develop systems. I think nowadays, it used to be 3 years here, and now they say, generally speaking, value is created for a company within 5 years. So have patience and don't think you're going to do things yesterday because somebody else is saying this is what success looks like. And coming back to that old root thing about knowing your success, but just be patient, have a plan, and execute it. And don't think it's going to be resolved, in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, and it takes sustained momentum as well, not just we've had a bit of a spurt. Now we're just gonna have a rest because we just put a load of effort in and leave it for ages before we have another spurt because we realise we've not done something for a while. It's about being consistent and sustained, and it's about showing up continuously. And I think it's really important that the people that you choose to work with and support you on your business growth journey are showing up. They are consistent. They put in the work. They have grit. Grit is one of the most important factors in any entrepreneur. Is that they keep going. They're consistent and they show up even when the results don't seem to be there. They keep going because they know they're sowing the seeds today to harvest tomorrow. And I think picking people who will help you and work hard on that journey with you is very important. So they're things that need to be tested as well.
Yeah, that's just spot on. And I think a couple of things here. I mean, you're one of the most tenacious people that I've met in my business life because I know that you put in the hours, you put in the effort, and all the success that's happening. Whether they say success is like several years, overnight success is several years in the making. So take fact from that. Anyone that you see is in the world of arts, the world of music, the world of business that you think, I admire that person, I respect that person, they're good at what they do. You're talking a lot of years of effort that's gone into that, a lot of mistakes that have been made along the way to actually get to a position of what I call excellence in that particular field.
Yeah, absolutely. And you work hard at your area and have got years of experience as well. And also the other thing is that the years of different experience. I have worked with sort of in the past. I'm going back a sort of pre-COVID and even earlier. PR companies that have just been doing the same old for years, charging a fortune and not getting any good results. So it's really important that you work with people who are moving forward, who know where the market's going, who know where the trends are, who are not being trendy, but they're using the latest tools and techniques and approaches available that are working so that they're relevant and they're contemporary as well. And there's some great, I can think of some great PR people that I've worked with in more recent years who are seeing what's coming and staying one step ahead and going with the flow in terms of early openings and early opportunities. So it's important to stay current and relevant, to see all of these things as like pieces on a chessboard. Zoom out, drop a bit of the emotion, and zoom out and say, what are the moves? What pieces do I need on my chessboard to create the success, and how am I going to move them across the board in order to win the game of business growth, and do that strategically and mindfully and thoughtfully.
I was just thinking that point you just about mindfulness. I think sometimes making good, effective decisions for your business requires that. Not only do you need to have some self-awareness for yourself, but I think you also need to create some space to have those thought processes. So whether it's getting off the roundabout, whether it's getting away from the office, whether you work at home or you've got your own office, or both, and actually just going for a walk, reconnecting with the outside. I mean, the outdoors may not be your thing, but you need some time away from the hubbub of business to actually have that clarity of thought. So if you're somebody who's working frenetic hours, it's likely you're going to be making decisions not necessarily well thought out of, because you see that as a pressure release. So, it may be sort of going for a walk, thinking about it, getting away from the business for a day or two, having some thinking time. And that means that you're less likely to rush into making a decision that could cost you financially and otherwise.
I agree. And, this is why sometimes people it's called retail therapy, and people get addicted to buying things and shopping and all of those things, is because we get a hit of dopamine when we hit the buy button, or when we actually purchase something. And for some people that is addictive. And the unfortunate thing is it's only a very short hit. We don't get lots of pleasure from the item quite often once it's been bought. That the pleasure is in the moment of buying, at that moment of buying. So if you can do what Mahmood says and step away from that, go for a walk, sleep on it, not press, buy, not go in for all of those early bird offers immediately, or so many, the marketing tactics are really strong, and they work very well to get us to buy. And they are scarcity. So there aren't many of these. You need to get it now before we haven't got any left. Exclusivity. So not everybody can have this. You're special. So if you come into this, you'll be one of a special group of people. And immediacy. You get this now because this discount will be ending, or the places will all be gone and there won't be any. So these marketing tactics are being used very deliberately and very cleverly to get us to buy in. So what we need to do is to stop that the dopamine hit taking over, is say, okay, I'll have a think about it. I'll step back and see if I'm still excited about it, just as excited about it at 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think we might have commented last week. So I know certainly when people have got sort of financial challenges here, if you're buying off Amazon, there are other sort of online carts out there, but Amazon is certainly one of the bigger beasts. If you're buying something, put it in your shopping basket, but don't check out. Come back to it, 24 hours later, and then think, do I still need that item? And you may end up emptying that shopping basket. Jeff, if you're listening, by the way, I'm not asking people not to shop at Amazon, but things are very cleverly set up, and that behavioural economics that we've talked about on previous shows here comes in. Marketers are clever people. They know psychology. They know how human beings work. And I think we've said it before, haven't we? That decisions are made emotionally more than logically.
It goes for trends as well. So there are trends. We should all be telling stories about our businesses. It's all about storytelling. Actually, it is, and I run innovation storytelling workshops, and they're really important. I run storytelling for presentations. I'm not saying storytelling isn't important. It is important. But if you're telling a great story and, the product is pants, then, if the product is pants and you sell knickers, that's all right. So if you're telling a story and the product isn't delivering, you can have all this fantastic story, but your product or service needs to do what it's supposed to do. The story helps promote something that's already great. It's not a substitute for something that's already great. And same with coaching. If you're a coach, it's about the coaching and the difference you make. And the story is about your why and how you got to do what you do. But it's not, and I think I see many stories being used. This is why I do what I do, and why coaching is important to me. But where's the evidence then that you're a good coach, that you get transformational results that you say you're going to do, apart from a handful of friends that you've got on your website? So there we go. Oh, I quite enjoyed my rant about that. So whether it's a trend, whether that you think everybody's doing this, don't jump on the latest bandwagon just because. Think about how it fits in and what's important, and it always comes down to fundamental principles, and then the rest can help you take it to the next level. But you've got to have the fundamental principles in place first.
And you've got to be strong, folks. Have as far as you can, have a strength up there, which means you've got to make sure that you're getting there is a link, making sure you get adequate sleep, making sure that you feel fit in your business, make sure you're not under stress or pressure, manifests itself in different ways that can make you more susceptible to making decisions which aren't necessarily good for your business.
Yeah. So stay strong, stay clear, hover over the chessboard, and make those strategic moves.
I'm not sure what that means there, Jo, but Mark, hello to you.
Hello, thank you. Thanks for watching, Mark.
Yeah.
Thank you. Right. Okay. So we've got we're having a think about next week's show. So we're thinking about doing something around just managing your business, good business principles with all the change and things that's going on. We've got inflation and energy costs, supply chain challenges, and those sorts of things in some industries. So it's really about navigating through that and giving you some tips is what we're thinking of. But let us know if there's anything on that theme or anything else that you'd like to cover in the next show or those after.
Yeah, that's a great point there, Jo. I mean, Jo, always like to do things that are relevant to the business landscape where we are now and going forward. We've obviously got our own views based on about 40 plus years of experience between us about what's going to work and what's going to be positive. But folks, if there's something you want us to talk about on the show, obviously make it relevant to the world of business as such. We're not going to talk about anything that's completely off piece. So we can talk about skiing, which I know very little about, or archaeology, but make sure it's got some connection. Let us know in the comments field. Let us know what you think of the show, feedback. We've got some guests lined up for the rest of this year, by the way, but more of that will be revealed in future shows.
Yeah,
until then.
Indeed. Yeah. So we will see you next time. Hopefully that's helped. And as you're gearing up for 2022 and you're thinking about your business plans and who you're going to work with and what you're going to do. But we'll be back next week and see you soon.
100%. Folks, have a great week. See you next week.